Hi, my name is Amanda Betcher. This is my week 1 oral presentation. I did it on 1.4, Watch Out for the Cliff. This experiment was conducted by Gibson, EJ, and Walk. And they wanted to know how the brain developed. Was it through evolution, through time our brain develops and changes, or through our own personal experiences? The quote that I have is, "Our ability to sense and interpret the world is an area of interest to experimental psychologists." And these researchers, Gibson, EJ, and Walk, all wanted to know the visual ability of depth perception. So they created a tool, which is the visual table, the visual cliff, which was a table. So they created this table that had a center area that was just a flat surface. And then on one side of the table, they had a shallow depth. And on the other side of the table, there was like a deeper depth. Now, the table was about 4 feet high in total. And the surfaces were a checkerboard material. And then there was a plexiglass over top of the table. So they took 36 infants and placed them on the center part, which was a flat surface and with no plexiglass on it. And they put the mother on one side or the other to see, and then had the mother call the child to see if the infant would come to the mother. Now the infants, let me just double check my my notes, were from ages 6 months to 14 months. And so they were able to crawl, and they had those fine motor skills to do that. And so the mother would call the child from the deep, for the child to cross over the deep area, and also for the child to go over the shallow area. Now, I'm looking at my notes. 9 of the 36 children, the infants, did not enter the deep end of the table. So they were at that middle area, and they did not cross over the deep end to see their mother. They would look down. They said some children would pat their hands to see, is this safe? Some children cried out of frustration or nervousness. And 27 of the children crossed the shallow end. So it seems as though they could tell the deep from the shallow. And only 3 crossed the deep end of these 6 to 14-month-old babies. Now, so they believe that the children that did not go across the plexiglass had the ability to see the depth in the deep end and to see the depth in the shallow end. And they were just wondering, so they wanted to know prior to 6 months if that depth perception was there. So they chose to do some research on baby animals, because we know baby animals can move quickly after birth, whereas babies tend to take some more time to develop those fine motor skills. So they looked at chicks, dogs, cats, many different animals, and the chicks, and let's see, the chicks, the kids, and the lambs had no issue whatsoever. They could see that depth perception, not one mistake. They also tested rats, and the rats had no preference for the middle area, the deep, or the shallow, because they are mainly nocturnal animals, and they use their sense of smell as well as their whiskers for feeling around, and they were able to feel the plexiglass, and they didn't rely so much on their vision. So still those questions are, is it innate? Is it not? there was a study in 1985 that used the same table, but the mothers standing on either side of the shallow side or the deep side would give the child facial expressions of fearfulness or happy. And when the child saw the mother in a happy facial expression, they were able to cross over on the plexiglass in the deep and the shallow areas. So that really did not help answer any questions related to the depth perception, whether it's something that we're born with or it's that we develop. So to the questions that were asked, and this study, I feel, has some relevance to our class or to people around, because there's a lot of people out there who do not have depth perception. I do not have depth perception. In the beginning of the book, it said that depth perception was something that was required for survival, but I don't have it, but yet my brain has modified and changed to allow me to see distances other than through depth. So I disagree with I agree that we are born with it. It's something that has evolved over time, because I'm missing the nerve that's in the inside of the brain that connects both of the eyes, that develops that depth perception. If it was something that we gain from experiences, then I would have that. I would be able to see through depth. I have never walked over a cliff. I have never tried to jump out of a window to see what these small things are, which through my experiences, I know how big and small things are, how far away they are. So with that, I kind of believe that it's an evolution versus an experience. And so with that, that concludes my oral presentation on Watch Out for the Cliff. Can't wait to see yours.